Welcome to Meet the Controller with Lensford McKenzie. This is our new career-oriented interview format by the Controllers Council. My name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council. And before I introduce our controller, allow me to cover some brief housekeeping items. First, although we'll not have live Q&A today, feel free to use the GoToWebinar control panel to ask questions to our panelists or the Controllers Council, and we'll respond post-webcast. Second, a video recording of today's interview will be available to all attendees in an email link that you'll receive in the next 24 hours. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our panelist, Lensford McKenzie, Financial Controller Americas at Argus Media. Prior roles included controller and accounting stints in the energy and finance consulting sectors and audit roles in public accounting. Lensford earned a bachelor's in accounting and finance from the University of Houston. Lensford, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Neil, for having me today. It's my pleasure to join this session. I look forward to the discussion.
Excellent, thank you. So let's get right to that. This is our interview format intended to get to a number of career-related questions, a so-called lightning round of Q&A. So my first question to Lensford is, you earned a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance. What inspired you to pursue a career in corporate accounting or in finance?
Well, for me personally, what inspired me was finding out things that I didn't like, and I took a myriad of different courses in school. I had, thoughts and plans to attend law school, but doing a hard look at the numbers in terms of just future employment and what would be more beneficial for my career, I decided to go in the corporate accounting and finance world, and I haven't looked back ever since. I have no regrets. It's been great for me and my family, and it's really, really broadened my horizons as far as my career.
Neat. That's I also thought I was going to be an attorney since my father was an attorney, and I had that that same come to Jesus moment there where I switched. So, and I have no regrets either. So, excellent. Well, yeah, go ahead and let's get to the next question. And tell us what it's like to work for an Americas division of a large global corporation.
It can be challenging at certain points, and by challenging it's because the headquarters are, again, for my company based in London, and a lot of times their preferences and their best business practices work in London, but they don't work in the Americas, and having to not only account for best business practices in the US, I have to account for best business practices in Brazil and in Mexico and in Canada, and trying to marry all those goals under the same umbrella of my role can be quite challenging, but it is really rewarding because you get to really meet a lot of different people, and you kind of see a bigger point of how business is being done, not only within the U.S. but also our neighbors to the north, neighbors to the south. So for me, it is a mix of challenging and a mix of growth as well.
And I would imagine there's a mix of really early meetings. And
yes, really early meetings. And for my colleagues that work in Brazil and in Mexico, they tend to work later because they have breaks during the day. And I'll receive a nice email at 8 o'clock at night, and my wife is asking why are they emailing me at 8 o'clock at night, but that's just their culture.
Oh, that's interesting. And then probably some meetings when would prefer to be eating dinner as well.
That would be correct. That would be correct. But you adjust, and like I said, I've been with the company for almost 3 years, and if you'd asked me, 3 years prior to my enrolling or acting as the controller for the Americas division in Argus, I probably would have said there's no way I'd be working on a Monday at 9 o'clock at night, having a meeting on Tuesday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning because of the time difference for my London colleagues. But like anything in life, you get used to it and you just adapt.
You bet. So who do you report to then? Do you report to a CFO in the Americas, or do you report to corporate? Or
So we kind of have a matrix style leadership, where I don't necessarily report to just one person. So in the Americas, I report directly to our senior vice president of the Americas, and I also report directly to the CFO of the entire company, who's based in the UK. But there's a myriad of different, business sector leaders that I report and support, either financially or operationally. So it's really a web of different people. But the end all be all say on top, in regards to my career with the company, would probably start and end with our CFO, Stuart Ashman, in London.
gotcha. And your resume looks like you've been in the energy sector
Mhm.
for a good portion of your career. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. I've touched pretty much every single aspect except for maybe E&P related companies. So I've done oil field services, manufacturing. I recently had a stint at a startup petrochemical company who was attempting to introduce a unique wax that was only actually manufactured in South Africa, and they're trying to establish a footprint in the U.S. But due to budget overrides and just not being able to manage a plant, they were unable to move forward, and the private equity company decided to end the project. So I've touched a lot of different spots. I would say by far, Argus has the most, I would say, most interesting product in the sense that we are providing information, and I feel that information will be the most valuable commodity going forward in the new century in terms of finance and risk and just business overall.
And obviously, right now, the worldwide energy sector is going through quite a few issues, right? So is it even more important right now for this
Correct. Correct.
analyst?
By far, our client base relies upon us even more so because of the fluctuations in crude and oil products, and we are at the forefront of providing that information to huge organizations and your mom and pop shops who are just trying to make it. So, um, you know, if there's ever been a time for our services to be needed, now's the time.
Wow, right place in the right time.
Right time, exactly.
So tell us about some of the most significant keys to your success.
For me, just throughout my career, I've learned that for the most part, when it comes to just the skill set of people, there's not a huge difference in terms of someone's ability to do the job. It's more about their ability to actually lead and to actually work with varying different people. And for me, what makes my career successful or has led to success in my career is the ability to, you know, always deliver what I'm going to deliver, be consistent with everyone. And, I know office politics plays a lot in just about every company, and then every company I've worked for has had the same issues, but kind of staying, above the fray and really just focusing on, treating everyone as individuals and really being fair and being transparent. That has really led me to where I'm at today and hopefully to where I want to go in the future.
Neat. And yeah, particularly in a corporate finance role.
Mhm.
So, okay. So are there any tools or solutions that have helped you be more effective in your role?
I would say there's a myriad of different tools. Not to be too biased, but one of the tools that we did implement recently was the Azure Trend Tech Task Manager. So before we came on board, or before I came on board with Argus, we didn't really have an active task manager that would assist us with month-end close, and there was a lot of issues in where certain team members were not aware of the status of certain tasks being done or yet to be completed. and having this tool, you know, in hand has really helped us with the communications. And of course, I think any controller would tell you, you know, one of the biggest items to have in your back pocket to make your job a lot easier is to have a robust ERP environment. And right now we use NetSuite. In my opinion, NetSuite is probably the most user-friendly tool, and it's just easy to adopt and has all the reporting functions that I can hope for. I've used others. I've used Microsoft Dynamics. I've used just your basic Oracle platform, and I would say by far this has been my most pleasurable experience in the ERP environment.
So a lot of controllers are have the role of closing month end and year end, of course. Is your close faster than it was in the past?
Our close actually has decreased from 7 days to 5 days. Part of that is the onboarding of, certain ancillary products like Azure Trintech, and some of it is just, kind of tightening down uh, certain mundane tasks that could have been automated, or kind of reducing the over reliance upon more manual work. We're using estimates and basing on historical data and trying to really close the window in terms of producing our finances on a monthly basis. Now, for what makes my role a little bit different is that we are still at some point held a little bit hostage by central finance, as we represent 1/4 of the business, and a lot of times there's some intercompany consolidated transactions that still need to take effect, so we technically can't close our books. But as far as my team's concerned, by day 5 we are pretty much good to go.
So what do you do with that extra time then? Do you put it toward other tasks or?
Mhm. So with the extra time, what I like to do is I just like to take a really deep dive review of the income statement to make sure that any stale accounts that need to be addressed, or balances that need to be addressed are addressed before we even get the notice that books have been closed. We make sure all our reconciliations are prepped and ready to go, reviewed, and just sitting there for peer review in case that does happen. And then we also look at just let's say areas of maybe a gap in our controls. Right now, I mean, we're privately held, so we don't really have the necessary SOX constraints that most publicly held companies do have. But we want to really enhance our internal controls and to make sure that, again, we're not duplicating work. We're increasing our efficiencies, and that's something that we do as a team in the Americas on a monthly basis.
Neat. Well, last but not least, any advice you can give to others that are interested in a controllership or a CFO career?
My advice would be to really hone down on what industry that you want to work in, and take ownership of just knowing, you know, about the industry, um, and knowing really how to communicate the financial information to what I would deem as non-financial people. I think a lot of accountants, we tend to assume everyone's on the same wavelength when it comes to just speaking about finances. And in my career, I've learned that's not the case. And sometimes you have to meet people at where they are. So, for instance, every month I report to my SVP. I report to different sector leaders over about 4 major departments in our company, and I make sure I tailor the information to their needs without negating the key financial issues of the month. And I think if people learn how to, again, take the complex financial issues and I wouldn't say dumb it down, but really make it into just a basic conversation that can help you go a longer way. Um, Not being able to communicate, what's happening with the company, um, from what I've seen, is just a career killer. And as the controller, you're expected, or CFO, you're expected to speak confidently and knowledgeably on what is happening with the company, and then provide your own guidance and advice of how to maybe handle certain issues, whether they are issues with margins or just budget issues. And again, I don't think anyone expects you to be perfect, but they do expect you to be diligent in what information you provide them and how you provide them the information.
Agree. And you mentioned industry, so and of course, getting back to our earlier discussion that
Mhm.
you have spent a great deal of time in the energy sector, and well, and you're also in Houston, which is the epicenter of the energy sector in the U.S. and anyway North America as well. So industry expertise is really important, do you think?
Mhm. I believe so. Like I said, if you don't know how to speak the language, then besides just your basic U.S. GAAP, in my case, IFRS, it really will not contribute as much as you think to the business, and you need to know your business. And I mean, I have a pretty wide range of colleagues, ex-colleagues, and current colleagues who are accountants. But if you ask them to speak to how the business is performing, they sometimes stumble with that. And I think that's something you have to learn if you're going to be a leader in finance for a company. You have to know exactly what goes on operationally and financially at the same time.
Yeah, every industry has their own vernacular,
Hmm.
their own acronyms,
Correct.
and you just have to learn it. And so
Mhm.
there's vernacular for accounting, there's vernacular for industries, and if you when you learn that for your industry, then that's when you become that subject matter expert. So
Exactly. And
it's
again,
great.
you are in most cases, even in my case for August, when people think of finance, they don't think of a department, they think of me because I'm the face. So, and I don't just get financial questions, I get operational questions as well. And you have to be, prepared to answer to the best of your ability those questions when they arrive.
Neat. Well, that's really great insights. Thank you, Lensford, for taking the time to share your background with us, and great success to you and all of our attendees in 2022. And with that, we'll say goodbye for now.
Thank you, Neil. And I'd like to say a special thank you to the Controllers Council for having this session. And I hope this helps with anyone who happens to watch it. And I wish everyone all the success in the world.
No, that's great. All right, Lensford, we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.